All right, then. So if we move it on, what about number 4?
So number 4, I gave to the Wandering Soul program in Vietnam. Not sure how well known this program is. It was a little bit unusual, and I think I listed it as number 4 because it is such an unconventional sort of unique program. So just as a little bit of background for the program. So in the early 60s, the U.S. involvement in Vietnam was started off as primarily an SF, Special Forces-led advisory effort. When the situation continued to deteriorate, U.S. involvement in Vietnam expanded rapidly in the mid-60s to the tune of hundreds of thousands of service members serving in the country. So part of this expansion involved an expansion of the PSYOP presence and organization within the country. Prior to 1966 or so, there was 4 PSYOP companies operating full-time within Vietnam. By 67, 68, there was 4 battalions operating in the country of Vietnam,
wow.
plus the 4th Psychological Operations Group, currently active today, was established in December of 1967 in Saigon. So there was this massive organizational expansion. One of the things that PSYOP had been very instrumental in supporting was called the Chu Hoi program, or Open Arms program. And the idea was to encourage primarily Viet Cong soldiers to defect and join the South Vietnamese cause, save their lives. And that was a very successful program, ran from 1963 to 1972, resulted somewhere in between the 200 to 250,000 defectors from the Viet Cong. So that was effective. But the Wandering Soul program came out of actually 6th PSYOP Battalion, somewhere in the 67, 68 timeframe. And the idea behind it was sort of to, based on an understanding of the target audience, culture, to use to their advantage Vietnamese beliefs or assumed beliefs about ancestors, spirituality, and those sorts of things. There was a holiday called Wandering Souls Day, in which it was believed that Vietnamese would pray for their deceased ancestors in hopes that they would, that their ancestors would not have be in a bad place after death for all eternity. So there was a day called Wandering Souls Day. There was also the Vietnamese belief that if you were far away from your home and died, then and you weren't, you didn't get the proper funeral or burial rites, that your soul would wander aimlessly forever. So they saw this as a vulnerability because many North Vietnamese soldiers in particular were being coming out of where they were from in the North, coming to the South to fight, dying in the South, never to have their bodies claimed and given the proper burial rites. So that was sort of the beginning of the genesis behind the Wandering Soul program. And the way that they did it is they have, of course, cultural support from Vietnamese attached to the PSYOP units. They would record messages and pretending to be a wandering soul, somebody that was literally was killed in the woods and was wandering aimlessly in torment and pain for all eternity. And he's speaking to his family, and he's telling his fellow soldiers, "Hey, this is not worth it. Please go back home and give up the fight." And so they recorded this. They use early versions of echo effects and everything, and it's very eerie. If we can, if audio or some kind of link to Wandering, it's available on open source to get the audio for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and so PSYOP loudspeaker teams would go out in the middle of the night, usually 2 or 3 in the morning, set up and do these broadcasts. Sometimes they would do it from helicopter, low altitude helicopter flights, and so on, and with the idea of just trying to instill fear that this could be your destiny, your eternal destiny, if you did that. It was said to, now I don't have exact figures about effectiveness, how many people it brought in. Now, if the idea is that they're to go home, then they wouldn't come into U.S. custody. But so maybe there's something to that. But it was said to be so psychologically effective that our South Vietnamese partners that went out with us on missions didn't want to be anywhere near when this broadcast was going on, even though they were aware of what was going on. So that's just really, really unique and a kind of unconventional approach, and I thought that deserved mention as number 4.
Vợ tôi của tôi đang về. Bà đang về với con đâu. Tôi đã về với mình đây. Nhưng tôi còn đâu mảnh hình hài nữa. Tôi đã chết rồi mà con đây ở. Tôi thảm thương biết chừng nào. Các bạn của tôi ơi, tôi trở về để nói cho các bạn biết rằng tôi đã chết. Địa ngục, cái chết thật là oan uổng, thật là vô nghĩa. Nhưng lúc tôi biết thì đã quá muộn rồi. Các bạn ơi, các bạn còn sống, còn có ngày các bạn gặp được người thân yêu của các bạn. Các bạn đừng nghĩ trở về các bạn, muốn mau đi, dứt khoát mau đi, lừa bỏ đi các bạn ơi. Nếu không thì không thể tránh được cái chết cảm thương như tôi. Trở về đi các bạn ơi, nếu không thì quá muộn rồi, quá trễ rồi. Trở về đi, về đi các bạn ơi, về đi.
That's great. I love that. And then actually, you know, that's one that I've kind of heard being in the PSYOP regiment is something like that, but I actually hadn't heard all the details surrounding that. And so that is just fascinating. And I think applaud. I have to applaud like the imagination of just kind of, that's definitely not your inside the box sort of type of thinking. That's definitely something outside the box. So that's pretty impressive.